open discussion between 6 women who have worked a lot in the communities and for the communities. So I'm really happy to have on stage Alicia Carr, Azzurra Ragone, Emanuela Dal Mas, Federica Pasini, Flavia Weisghizzi, and Kriti Mehta. A big round of applause for them.
Can I start? I'm supposed to be the moderator, but be patient with me because it's my first time in this role, almost as a speaker. And I'm introducing the panel. I will be introductory part of it, and then I would like my women will handle themselves, their stories and their dialogue between themselves. I will take part of it, but and sort of limitation. And the idea of this panel about inclusivity and women in technology in the technical community started from the Jungle Girls project. Jungle Girls project was born in the Jungle community itself. And most of the people that you notice these days with a yellow staff t-shirt are part of the Jungle Girls communities as coaches and as organizers. And I think that there are many Jungle Girls coaches in the audience too. And as you know that they are workshops for women to let women approach technology and to be inclusive this way. But as a collateral effect, what happened in Italy, for instance, that this is our experience, is that community of coaches was born. And they are very, very connected, interconnected, and made the work. They are making a big job because the connection has become the project itself. They all believe in it, men and women together. So starting from this, I started to find other women coming from other women communities and with their experiences to open a dialogue with them and to understand if there was something in common and what we could share and what we can do for the community ourselves. Okay, I'm talking too loud. I'm sorry. And so I of course introduced myself as a person of the organization, but as a woman. I'm 48 years old, and today is my birthday. And I am, of course, a man in technology as an entrepreneur, but also as a part of the group of the Jungle Girls workshops. But now we have Azzurra Ragone, and with her experience with women tech makers, and Federica Pasini from Girls in Tech, and Flavia Weisghizzi with a lot of experience, not only one, but she will express herself what is her long story, and Kriti Mehta, and our first international guest from, yes. What is the problem? Okay, I'm not used that it is clear. And Kriti, she has several experiences too with communities, and she is working in a particular company that has diversity as a big value. And then Alicia Carr from Women Who Code Atlanta. And I would like to start them to introduce themselves, and starting from Azzurra, and then you have 2-3 minutes and if you talk too much, it is 3, to introduce yourselves and your personal identity, and then we can start with their stories.
Okay. Yeah, it works. Thanks, Emanuela, for the introduction, and also thanks for the the invitation. It's so great to be here today, and thanks to all of you that are here to listen to us. My name is Azzurra Ragone, and I'm an engineering, and I worked for several years in the academia as an artificial intelligence researcher, so mainly machine learning stuff. And but in my career, I also worked as a business intelligence consultant. But speaking about passions, that are the most important things in life, and I think you agree with me. So my passion are communities. I've been part of a lot of tech and not tech communities, and I've also been organized of GDG groups and Women Tech Makers group in Italy. And I was also champion of a Coder Dojo, and many other community that I will not mention because I want to be brief. And also talking about personal stuff, I really like the yellow color, and I really like to play and watch soccer. So soccer matches, but I also play soccer, which is something a little bit strange probably, but because every time I say...
There is no standard.
Yeah, that's true. And but the thing is that, like, my husband, for example, he completely hates soccer. So I find probably one of the few men in Italy that do not like soccer, but it's life. So that's it for me.
Okay.
So, hi everyone, it's Federica. I just turned 26, not today. And I will probably start from sport, as here's the ball. Actually, I've been done judo for 20 years. And, but from what I'm here to tell you today is that I'm a wannabe nerd, as I like to define myself, because I'm not a coder, not a technician. I've been studied business at Bocconi University, and at the second year of my bachelor, I was using HTML. That for me was wow, and using it to prepare this blog because I wanted to tell about entrepreneurship and innovation, and to create some discussion around these themes. It was 2012, and Uber was starting in Italy. And I was starting going to meetups and to events, startup events, because I was really interested in how young people without any money can make great things, start up businesses, and be so great in creating stuff with just a computer. And that's the moment I started going to these events, knowing lots of people, and trying to make some connections, some networking around, and that's where I've met Girls in Tech, the other founders of the community in Italy. But I want to tell about Girls in Tech later, so it's your turn.
It's my turn. Thank you, Federica. Hi all, I am Flavia Weisghizzi, and the first things I would like to say is thank you, Jacopo, and thank you, Emanuela, to have rightly pronounced my surname. That is quite difficult. Okay, the story so far, I'm a journalist, and the story so far started when, in the beginning of 2000, I was very interested in the Linux and in Linux community. I would like to try, but since I'm not very, I'm not very technical person, and my tech skills are very poor, I could only join the Ubuntu or the Fedora distro. I tried Fedora, and the very first problem I joined the community, the Italian community, and asked for help, and I have been answered RTFM. And they say, what does it mean? And the answer was RTFM. I say, this is not really welcoming. Let's try Ubuntu. I arrived there, and I wrote, hello, I'm 29 years old, I'm a journalist, and I'm here to serve. And someone wrote back, "Oh my God, the aliens landed in the planet Ubuntu." But it was only the first steps. Then I find my way to help the Ubuntu Italian community, and later, some years later, I joined the international Ubuntu Women Project. I co-lead this international project to help women to get involved in tech, to support women to approach technical and to differently to grow diversity inside the communities. So yes, exactly like Azzurra, I come from the communities. When I'm back in Italy, then I work for GNOME in the marketing team, and when I'm back in Italy, I bring all this experience in growing the diversity inside the community to CodeMotion. This is my my employer. CodeMotion is a tech conference, and yes, what we are doing here is to make conference, of course, but to help women to get involved. That's all for now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, I am Kriti Mehta. I've been working with ThoughtWorks, which is a multinational technology firm. I work as a quality analyst, and for those of you who don't know what quality analyst is, actually I find flaws in other people's code and write code to find flaws in other people's code. So that is a very interesting job. I also support a lot of women technology initiatives back in India. One of them is GHC, and ThoughtWorks in general is a company that supports diversity and truly believes in gender inclusivity. So we have a lot of local initiatives like Rails Girls, which is a training workshop for women who want to start working on Ruby on Rails, and where we have conferences which are focused on women. So I've been part of that in volunteering and kind of organizing those meetups. So that's all from me as part of introduction. I'm going to share more points later.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Django Khan, for inviting this old woman to Florence, Italy, and totally enjoying myself here. I'm Alicia Carr. I am director of Women of Code Atlanta, and I'm also a self-taught mobile developer that created the first domestic violence app for the state of Georgia. I also created an app for sex trafficking to allow women to report or talk to someone anonymously for help. I created stickers in iMessaging called Tech Girl, okay, which talks about girls who talk code. So this also has been acknowledged by Apple 2015, 2016. I am in the New Beginning Apple video last year. Apple told me that I officially am an iOS developer engineer. So that's me.
Yes. Thank you. One moment. One moment. Well, when I'm at I met each one, and we talked a lot individually. And many times the question that have been made from them as, make us a question, what is your question? Well, I don't have a question. I would like to hear their stories, and I would like to know what they think can improve the matter. Women in technology, how fostering diversity. Diversity is clear. Each one of them is different, and they have different experiences. And typically women have a long story, and they are really diverse, and there is complexity in all this group. But I would like just that they start with their own story and they make their own points, because each one of them have something to convey, something to tell to this audience about their projects, about their battles, and about what they believe in strongly, and that deserve their passion and their time all over these years. And so I would like them to start. And so I start from Azzurra because, well, we are a bit related because we are trying to make a connection between young girls and women tech makers this month. So I start with her, and then she has some suggestions, and then, of course, Federica will start with her projects, and Flavia, and then Kriti and Alicia will have probably even deeper and more open topics to discuss between themselves, and then with the audience itself, also personally. Okay. You can start. You are quite fast, very quick. So you have 7 minutes. You earn 1 minute each.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I'll start talking about my experience as a community manager, but before that I will tell you a little story about how I joined the GDG, the Google Developer Group community at the beginning. Basically, they were in my university, like in the university where I used to work, and I have to confess this. I had a bias against them because I say, okay, but they are like kind of little nerd. I cannot join them. So at that time, I was really biased about them and about that community. And probably many of you have heard yesterday the talk about unconscious bias. It's something that everyone has this kind of different kind of bias, and if you want to fight your bias, you have to know it. If you don't know it, it's impossible to overcome your bias. But one day, one of the guy that was one of the organizer of the community, he asked me to join the community to lead a new project. The new project was the Women Tech Makers project, and because I usually say yes, why not? Also at that time I said, okay, yes, why not? Let's start. And so I started to see all the things in a different way. And also I was like the only woman in that community for 1 year or so. But I noticed that when I entered the community, something started to change. Because when I entered the community, like with me, a new perspective was there. So a new point of view, a new way of thinking about how to organize events, meetups, and stuff. So I realized that actually the fact that I was diverse from them was actually really beneficial for the community, because we started to organize the things in a different way, taking into account a different point of view. So I don't know how many of you are community organizer or are involved in some community, but I would like to ask you a question. Do you want to have like a more diverse community? You can raise your hand if you want. Okay, pretty good. So now I will try to give you some practical suggestions how you can reach this result. Because, you know, I usually when I go to conferences, lots of people, they tell me, you know, I have a community, but my community is not so diverse. We want to have more women. How can I do that? First of all, it's a work. So it's a job that you have to do. It's not easy, especially at the beginning. But there are some practical suggestions that you can take and do, and that will bring you there. So the first step is to create a baseline. So basically, which is the current state of diversity and inclusion in your community. For diversity, I mean not only gender diversity, but also like race, age, ability, sexual orientation, and so on. And by inclusion, I mean retention, turnover, safety, comfort, support, access. So one of the first steps that you can that you can start with is have a code of conduct But I will not talk about this because then Flavia will talk about the code of conduct. But code of conduct is really important to have one, and also have a visible code of conduct. Then you have to put in place like a strategic plan for inclusion. So you have to set some goals, some outcome, and then also a plan to achieve that goals. Then it is always useful to have a kind of let's call it advisory group, advisory group for like your inclusive plan. So try to bring in your community people that are different from you, that can bring different perspective and that can help you in like do this plan and doing some like clear action. And then you have, of course, to measure and also publish your goals. So which are your goals? You want to reach more diversity, which kind of diversity? You want to be more inclusive, but which kind of inclusion you want to put in place? And remember that you always want to measure what matters, because you can change only what matters. This is a sentence that I heard and is really important for me. And so in order like to be inclusive, you have to pay attention also to like the environment. When, for example, you do a meetup or events, you have to be very careful to the environment, because the environment can be welcoming or also can be not welcoming but intimidating for people. So, for example, photos that you put around, but also the language that you use when you communicate your events. For example, in Italian, we are not so lucky for this because we have like gender, so we say like ragazzi and ragazze, so we have like the two gender, and sometimes when we talk to both of the gender, we speak like on the male side, so like ragazzi came to the events, ragazzi is like for guys, because we refer to guys like to both men and women. So try, when you advertise your event on social network, for example, try to put all the gender in your message, or try to put pictures of female and male all working all together in a workshop, for example, because what you communicate to the external public is actually what you want to have in your events. So if you want to have more women at your events, you have to communicate that by the language that you use and by the pictures that you use. And of course, also if you are planning, for example, to do a t-shirt, for example, let's do like female size and male size. Like here we have like what kind of t-shirt, but actually it's not something that you can find in every place. I have lots of t-shirts at my house that are like extra large for me because they are like M size for male, so I cannot wear them, for example. So some important things that you have to have in mind is like the topics that you want to deal with in your events. So the events topic have to appeal to diverse audience. Then the speakers, of course, you should have like a diverse set of speakers if you want to reach a diverse set of people. And then also something that is really important is the timing. So when you choose the time of your events, be careful, because a lot of people maybe cannot reach your event if it's late at night, or if they are parents, or if they are commuting. So you have also to take care of this stuff.
I have asked you to
I finished actually. Yeah, because just last thing that I want to say is about the food. If you provide food at your event, be careful that everyone should feel welcome at your event, so providing like gluten-free option, vegan, vegetarian, and so on. And I finished.
I only have these two.
Thank you. Actually, at Girls in Tech, actually I don't have any picture like sorry for Brexit, because I saw it on Monday. I was like, I'm not going to have any like wow slide. But anyway, we were following kind of all the suggestions you were giving. For example, we decided to create lots of events. Well, I will tell you later because you don't know who we are. So, how it works. Okay, so Girls in Tech is a global network. We are more than 50K people around the world. I'm here to represent the Italian chapter, which is like 100 people. And the focus is on engagement, education, and empowerment. And these are our 3 pillars. And the team is composed by VC analysts or a community manager of a couple of co-working space and a couple of marketing and business people. And we started creating diversity from our team. Even if we are all women, we come from different backgrounds and different workplace. And for sure, we do things in a different way. Every time it's like in preparing any events, we all bring other like different inputs, and that's really important when you have an association. It's a voluntary-based work. So I don't know which is the right one. It's not working. Oh, sorry.
Lots of people.
So, as I was saying, yeah, thank you. Our mission is based on supporting women, in particular the target who has a company or a startup, because we really think that what these people need is speak with investors, speak with talents, and get employees, get talents to bring to the company. It's really difficult for a non-technical person, for example, an architect who wants to hire a developer, to find a good developer, because it's difficult that a good developer would work for an architect. I mean, it's difficult to make this communication working, at least in Italy. And so we are trying to organize events where these girls, these entrepreneurs can speak and they can get listened to CEO of big companies, investors, but also talents. And in particular, that's what we are creating. As I was saying before, the one on your right is a breakfast at Facebook we've done last year. And we were thinking we want to involve the biggest number of girls possible, and to go at Facebook, and we did it as a breakfast. That's our concept, Girls in Tech breakfast, and we had, I don't know, we were 30 people probably, but the important side was that having these girls listening to leaders who works in tech companies who can tell, hey, I did it, it wasn't possible, I am a woman, I have kids, but I've been able to get hired from this company and create my own team, my own project, and they like it. And you're like, okay, so I can do that either. And on the other side, it's a dinner that we did last year and this year, the 8th of March. And here you can see only women. I couldn't find a picture with men, but actually they were there. And
hidden, a little bit hidden. They were taking the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that time we were with one or two men at the table, investors or big managers, listening to ideas of these girls who had who are female founders, so who had startup. And you can see how these guys, these managers or investors are glad to hear that women has ideas. And it's like, it's come on, we have ideas, we have our projects, I mean, but we don't speak about them. And what Girls in Tech is doing is trying to bring these women speaking and saying, what they're doing, telling their story to people who can help them from a coaching, mentoring, or networking perspective. I knew I shouldn't come with slides. And this is another type of event was JavaScript for Girl last year at Google, but I don't want to speak about education side because they are better than me. And the last one was the team.
No. Yes, missing. No,
But-
you're missing it.
Anyway,
Yes. There's something is missing.
no worries. Anyway, the big point is
Okay.
this is the team, and I don't have the t-shirt today, but we have a lawyer, we have an investor analyst, it's me, and she's working for Talent Garden, which is a good co-working in Italy. And anyway, it's important to bring them speaking to investors, to talents, and to people who can help them, because that's the gap we are facing at the moment. But I don't want to spend more time because they have more things to say. So thank you for now.
That's okay.
Thank you, Federica. I am looking for my slide. Just some numbers and something to help you to focus what I'm saying. So, first of all, yes, inclusive attendees and where to find them. Okay, let's try. Okay, I told you before my name is Flavia Weisghizzi, but you can find me on IRC or somewhere in the web also as the Indra. That is my nickname. And right now I'm communication manager of Codemotion, that is this big conference. Okay. Before start my talk, I would like to ask you a question. I have a question for you. Who consider himself, herself, their self in any way a bit different? Raise your hand. Okay. Not very much. Okay. But it's a point. It's a starting point. Okay. When I start joining the community, as I told before, there was very few number of women attending the communities.
Sorry,
and
Or can you speak more louder? Can you speak louder?
louder, yeah. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now? Better? Okay. When I start joining the communities, the FLOSS communities, we are more or less in the beginning of 2000. There was more or less 1.1% of women contributing to the FLOSS. What's happened from there? All the community worked very much, and 10 years later, we can see that something has changed. For example, if we consider Google Summer of Code, this is one of the projects more interesting to grow the inclusiveness, we can see that almost 10% of the participants in 2015 was made by women. And for example, in the PyCon conference in 2014, 1/3 of the attendees was women. Wow, I think this is a very good result, starting from that 1.1 percentage only 10 years before. But okay, what is the situation right now? Next, please. What is the situation right now? First, okay. Now we can consider that we have a 5.5% of women member of the Ubuntu community and 10% of women member of the GNOME communities. And more or less, we can say that the 11% of all the contribution in the FLOSS is made by women. It's a great result. It's a result of an effort that made companies and communities all together, and especially personalities, every person. Because when we're talking about the inclusiveness, we need to consider that every details matter, every contribute matters. And there are so many things that we can do, as Azzurra says before. There are so many actions that we as person and as communities and as organizer of conference, as company can do to boost the diversity. But aside of all that she said before, I want to point the importance of code of conduct. We can say that code of conduct is, in a nutshell, a sort of promise, a promise of welcome, a promise of welcome that we, as organizer and manager of community, made to all the attendees, for example, of our conference, or all the participants of our communities. A promise that everybody is welcome, nevertheless their diversity. And, but it's also a sort of request and a promise that every participant and every attendee made to other attendees, they will respect each other and they will respect diversity. This is a very key point of every community. We can say that is the key point for online and offline communities, or for a conference, or for, generally speaking, every occasion in which we sit together and we want to grow something together. And, okay. How Azzurra said, we need to measure our action and our effort. And I said, I wrote here, and I'll leave you, if you want to check the slide, some key points. Just, for example, to measure how much underrepresented groups really, actually participate to our conference, event, meetup, and so other. And for example, to create a pathway in which everybody could feel welcome and could contribute second his desire, but also second their skills. Because don't forget that diversity is also about the skills. There is a coder, of course, but there are also people who make the UX, or tech writers, or designers, or I don't know, translators. I was a translator for a very long time, or communication. Right. Okay. The subject that I want to bring here is made basically from two really big experiences. When I left Ubuntu in 2012, more or less, I I got in touch with a very interesting program that's called Outreach Program for Women. It was a GNOME project to help women to get in touch with the FLOSS community. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So to get in touch with FLOSS communities. And this project started in 2009. Okay. This project started in 2009, and finally, after 7 years, it changed its name, and now it's called Ultrasea. And this project right now involves 33 companies and communities across all the world, and it saw more or less 370 participants, women participants, and 13 rounds. And it is a great opportunity to join, because there is a mentorship program and also a paid internship. So women could be paid to work. I have been paid for work to GNOME, just, to name a few, for example. And it has been a great opportunity to me. When I'm back in Italy, I joined Codemotion, And I brought all this experience inside Codemotion, and I pushed them to bring this inclusiveness inside all our activities. I need to say that it's quite easy, because Codemotion is basically made by 2 women, and the core team is made by women. So it's not very difficult. But finally, we do so many things, like, for example, we do some hackathons for women, only for women, or we raise awareness talking with the parents of the children who attend our tech schools. We work with children and youngsters because we need to grow awareness starting from the very young people. And finally, we do an active commitment, for example, to grow difference in conference by inviting, for example, women, or inviting, or making some diversity initiative in some of our conferences abroad. Right now, we have more or less 750 women who have attended our workshop in 3 years. More or less 10%, sorry, it's not 10, it's 10% of girls attend our courses, and 20% of women speak at our conferences. This is a very good number for a tech conference. I want to close my speech only pointing some key. When we talk about diversity, I don't want nobody thinks that it's a man versus women match, such a match. It's something very larger, because when we're talking about diversity, we are talking about gender, sexual orientation, religion, country of origin, languages, food, as Azzurra said, of course, we are both gluten-free. Yes. Clothes that we dress, and skills. Every contribution matters, every details matter, and we need to respect, because basically when we talk about diversity, we are talking about the respect of individualities. Mm-hmm. In another word, try walking in another people's shoes. And if someone would like to say that there is only one shoes and there is a standard shoes that fit all, just like a man business attire that fit perfect to a woman, for example, okay, let's try to shift your perspective. And what's happened when we shift this one? And if you think that seems awkward, it's only because you are not used to see a man dressed as a woman, or with female clothes. Sorry, not as a woman. So basically, I want to close this speech saying to you that diversity is only a matter of cultural matters. So goes on, and please always remember that we don't need to choose between good people or good code, but if we foster a good community, good code will come. Thank you.
Okay. Quick check. My mic is working? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Cool. Thank you girls for sharing your opinions on communities and contribution to the community. I will be putting in a different perspective, because probably I come from India, and things that I do there probably doesn't make sense here. But only thing is that, surprisingly enough, the problems or the problems that we see as women remain same all across the globe. We've seen that the same problems are faced by women in Europe, women in India, women in US. So that is why I would like to start with sharing my journey and how it has gone till now, and raise exactly 3 points that I want to raise and then close it. So yeah, I come from a small town in India and a family of 4, where the ratio is 3:1, where 1 is my father, so no bias there. And so what happened one day was, when I was a kid, that I asked my mother that in school, my teacher is partial towards one of the kid, and what should I do? And she just told me that, okay, if she is partial towards that, then whatever you're doing, you have to do it at your best, or you have to do good at what you're doing. and then you will never be overlooked. So I was actually brought up with that learning that if you're good at what you're doing, then you'll never be overlooked. And that led me to good places. I got good grades, I got into like national best colleges, and then I eventually landed up in a great job. So I work for ThoughtWorks, and ThoughtWorks is famous for being culturally diverse, women inclusive, and all stuff like that. So what is the story all about? 1 year later, what happened was one of the person who interviewed me came back to me and asked that, oh, how was your experience interviewing with ThoughtWorks? And I was telling him my experiences and how the entire interview went. And I told him that I think I got lucky. And then because ThoughtWorks was recently in that year awarded like the toughest interview to crack around the world and around the globe. And I thought like maybe I really got lucky. And then he got upset. He was totally upset with me. And I asked him, why are you upset? And then he asked me again, do you think you really got lucky? And I was like, yeah, maybe not. And then he told me that, why do you think you got lucky? You got selected from a group of 300 people, and you were the only one who got selected, and you think that you got lucky. So I was like, so he then told me that women have this feeling of constantly underrating themselves, constantly judging themselves that they're not good enough. So there was this study that was done which showed that men tend to credit themselves a lot more than women. Women tend to say that, oh, it was luck, oh, all of it fell into place, oh, I think it's teamwork. And I'm not saying that's wrong. That's only thing is that it matters in a workplace if you don't take credit for your work and if you don't get acknowledged. If you can't acknowledge your own work, then nobody is going to acknowledge you on a team. So that brings me to the first point that I want to raise, that women need to start feeling equal. They need to feel equal to be felt equal by everyone else. In order to improve those gender ratios, probably I think women need to start recognizing and start acknowledging what they're doing right now and giving more credit to themselves. And that also coming back to the story, I want to say, and then I was thinking that, oh, I was raised in a very good background. My mom told me that I should do good and I will never be overlooked. And then what went wrong? I mean, I was working on a great principle and it was giving me good results. Where did I completely fall off and started thinking that I don't deserve it? So then I read a lot of books. I started going into these conferences, and then one day I came across this beautiful talk by Reshma Saujani. It's a TEDx talk, and it mentions that society has actually taught women to become perfect, and they've taught their men to become rough. They've taught men to become less risky. They are always like, boys are told to climb up the swing and jump off from the height and take more risks and play it rough. While women are always told to be prim and proper, clean, and do your things perfectly, talk like this, dress like that. And then what it does eventually is, this is not directly biasing, but what it eventually does is that women start feeling more cautious. When they apply for the jobs, what happens is, if the job description doesn't sound 100% okay to them, they will not apply. Whereas men, on the other hand, will apply for a job even if it is 60%. They think that if 60% of the qualifications are all right, they're going to go for it and see how it goes. Whereas women will not take that risk of going to the interview if she thinks she's not good enough. And that is what matters. In a workplace, while a woman may be scared to raise their hand and say, this is my opinion, please take it into consideration. While a person or a man will definitely go ahead. That actually comes back in the team circle. Why it is important is because when there are opportunities to grab, women tend to take a second step because they'll keep thinking, oh, what will happen in the future? What if I'm not good enough? What if there's something wrong with me? What if I'm not qualified enough for that job? Whereas men tend to grab opportunities and start. And I'm not saying that's a problem. That's a problem that society has created in actually growing us up. So that is why women need to be fearless. And what better way to be fearless while you're coding, right? It gives you a sense of failing faster, taking more risk, writing code, and then eventually learning and growing in that atmosphere. So basically, I would actually plea everyone, every woman here, to become more fearless and take more stands, be more courageous, raise hands more often, grab more opportunities, leave it to the last step to think. And that brings me to the third point, as in all motivational speech done, obviously, but how will we actually achieve it? So I come from, and trust me when I say this, I come from a very good company who cares about gender diversity, where ratios of men to women are almost 35–40%. And since 5 years or 6 years or 5 years of my job, I've never worked with a team which was 50% women. I have worked with patriarchal teams which have men most of the times. I agree that women need to support women, or I have to stand up and say that I am qualified. But then eventually, because the huge deal part of the teams are men, the onus lies on men to stand up and say, oh, we know and we acknowledge that there's a problem, and we need to stand up and start solving it. Because what happens is, if a man stands up and says that this is wrong, and this is a stereotyping against women, and you should not do it to other people, it just raises the standard of the teams and says that no matter what will happen, this is not acceptable in this atmosphere. Not in jokes, not in slide comments, not in when only men are there, because it kind of brings everyone together. And men need to be mentoring more women to take a stand, because I was saying that men are taught to be fearless. Maybe this is what you need to mentor women to be. You need to mentor them to take more stands. Sometimes you need to give them the stage and say, oh, yes, go ahead, give your opinions, stand up, take some opportunities, grab some leadership or something like that. You need to be open to leave the stage and say, go ahead. So basically, I want to close by saying that nothing good will happen if you leave half of your population behind. And women are the half of population here. And women basically today are using 600% more social media than men. We know 85% of buying choices of households. So we know what are the future products. We know what are the future strategies, what is going to work. So if you leave that entire perspective behind, you're never going to get to better products or better applications or better smart homes or something like that. So eventually, we all have to basically work together to solve this problem, overcome it, and innovate and bring more and more women, so that we all can basically innovate together and go towards the brighter and a better future. Thank you.
And it's time for Alicia.
Okay, I'm going to tell my story, and then I'm going to give y'all a solution. At the age of 51, I was standing online at an Apple store, waiting to get my second generation iPad, and saw the 16-year-old boy in front of me, and I was wondering why or how he got $800 to pay for an iPad. And and I asked him, and I said, well, did you clean, wash some cars, clean some windows? He said, no, he created a mobile app. And this is in 2011, and I said, so are you a genius? You went to college for this? And he said, no, I learned it off of YouTube. And I turned to my husband and said, that's what I wanted to do. So 2012, I decided to go out there and start looking to go to school to take an online course to be an iOS mobile developer. It took me a year and a half to learn Objective-C. So if anybody know about Objective-C, know the challenges. Found a boot camp, did the 3-month boot camp. Once I finished, my mentor gave me the idea to create a domestic violence app. I started building the domestic violence app in 2014, finished it March, submitted to the Apple, and got it approved May 2nd. That's when I knew that I became that mobile developer. The challenge that I had to go through was learning the product. But also, I really didn't build the app to put out there for domestic violence. I built the app to get a job. because I was transitioning from one to another. Now, I have been a coder since I was 25. I learned MS-DOS, DBase, became a database programmer at that age, taught myself HTML, created websites, taught myself C++. So over the years, I am that coder. I'm a geek, a nerd. I love technology. I probably know a lot more than some of y'all out there. I am now 54, and the challenge started with me trying to get that job at 51. The challenge is that putting that resume out and they realizing how old I was and laughing at me. And it was hurtful, very painful for me, because it didn't click that it was going to be an issue as a black woman at the age of 51 to get a job just to be a coder. So the thing was that everybody was seeing the age and thinking that I was too old to be that person that can go in there and code. As a woman, we're that one thing in the middle that changed everything around a bunch of men. So as a coder, I have so many examples of how women can change the way you'll see things. But the fact is that was my first thing that hurt, that I realized that there was a problem in technology. And so over time, building the app, updating it, putting myself out there to try to push something that, even though I'm still applying for jobs, being told that I'm too old, being told that you need 2 apps in the App Store to get a job, which was stupid. Technical tests where I'm applying for a junior position, junior developer, and I'm taking a technical test for a junior developer, which also didn't make no sense, which I knew for a fact that it was another guy, me and him were working together on my mobile app. He got in by just telling them I can do the job. And that's all he had to say. But as a woman, I couldn't say that. I had to prove myself. I have to prove myself double the time, double amount that he had. So over time, I started to realize that it wasn't going to happen, and had to decide what I was going to do with myself and my career. So that's the fact we're dealing with sexism and ageism. There is a difference with a woman, and also the difference for age, and also as far as color. I've interviewed with companies, and people that I interviewed knew me, worked with me with my mobile app, and still felt that I was not qualified for, in their eyes, wasn't qualified for the job. And from there, I joined Women of Code. Women of Code is an international women organization, and they help women get back into it. These are women who got out of technology, got back in it, are learning, just graduated from boot camp, and are trying to get themselves established in the tech community. I started a woman iOS developers group in Women of Code, helping women to learn how to code in iOS, learning Objective-C and Swift. With Women of Code, I got a scholarship. They asked me if I wanted to go to WWDC 15, got a scholarship. Apple paid for the full amount. My mentor told me, if you're gonna go there, because I wanted to go looking cute, high heel shoes, skirts, knowing it's a tech conference with all men, I felt that I should look cute. That was not gonna happen. That's not a tech conference. Tech conference is casual. So he suggested to me to get a t-shirt, put on the t-shirt, hey, have them ask you about your mobile app. And so I did. I put that on my t-shirt, say, ask me about Purple Pocketbook. And so before I got on that plane, I took a picture of the front and back of my t-shirt. Me and my husband was heading over to San Francisco. And I took the picture, sent it to Apple. And not only sent it to Apple, I sent it to everybody because it was a dream come true. I mean, this was like, all this time I'm sitting there watching the keynotes from Steve Jobs. Now I'm getting to go to a keynote to Apple, full scholarship because of my mobile app that I created. And I took the picture, sent it to everybody. I thanked them. I got to Apple. They had a welcome event, and Apple was looking for me. Apple decided that they want me to be that picture on their keynote event that day when they put it up on the screen. And That's what they did. 2015, I was the first black woman that Apple ever acknowledged on their keynote at the age of 51. Then everything went back to normal. The following year, a documentary short company reached out to me and asked me, can they do a story on me? But it was just not me. It was a bunch of other people they were looking at. And so, come to find out, I'm just making this real short because I ain't got enough time. It was Apple, and I had to basically update my app with the new platforms for them to help me, to be on their WWDC 16 New Beginnings video. And so with that, Apple sent somebody to help me fix my app, which me as a woman was afraid to ask for help because I felt that if I did, it looked like I was not good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't that mobile developer. And it was like, no, every developer, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, need help. You always need help. And so with that, Apple helped me get my app they came down last year around the last week of May and finish it up. And in the United States, it's Memorial Day weekend. So that Monday, Apple had somebody come in and approve my app, which was then, they then put it in the video. And so being acknowledged twice from Apple just speaks volumes. And everybody knows that. I didn't take it as that. I took it as, okay, they acknowledge me. I can't brag about it. It's insulting to brag about it. It looks like I'm this big person and okay, whatever. And so it took me a while to understand that I need to bring that to everybody's attention, because Apple acknowledged me twice. And they acknowledged me the second time as the same thing. I'm a 51, 52-year-old woman, created a mobile app and continue building on this app. With Women of Code, I became director. And becoming director, I also became, one of my dreams come true is to be working for an all-women organization helping women. The problem is that women are good at what we do. And GitHub proved that by putting out there, they looked at code and didn't add gender to it and found out that women are better coders. The thing is that I don't think men see that. I don't think men understand that. We're very hardworking women that my mind thinks simple. Okay. And so since I think simply, I think that's a lot of women like things organized and think simply. So with saying that, it's important that your men understand that yes, women make a difference in what you do in your organization. So if you have a group of men, if you put one woman in there, things will change, seriously. You also have to understand that women dictate what we do. If we go to more websites, more mobile apps, we shop. Young women do Snapchat more than men. And you'll have to consider women in what you'll do. Whatever you'll create, you have to think about women. You also got to understand that you'll make the difference. Y'all can change what's going on. Y'all really can. All it takes is one of you to say, we need a woman in the group. Just one woman. And there's women that come in that helps other women come in. And it does help and make a difference on how you see women, how you can respect women, and where we can grow. There's so many jobs out there that's available. It seems like the men who are running these companies feel that they got to fill it up with men. And it's not that. It's the fact that you need to fill it up with people in technology who have the skill set, whether it's men, women, it doesn't matter who they are, but they need to fill the positions. And so that's my closing, is that.
Okay. Alicia, thank you. We have no more time, but
Okay.
it's very interesting what you are saying. But so yeah, so to conclude, I have only few lines, just what I got from them. But probably you have a different manifesto in your mind, because that something came out as what I understood from all their story as. What we could do is to be real and to be concrete as women, to make projects, to work on them, to change or propose new standards, to promote inclusivity at any level, age, gender, and all the rest, and to have men inside. Please collaborate and be with us at our side, and women stand up and believe in yourself. And I think that this creates innovation. And so what I can say, that's what I had to add, is that there is no question time. That we don't have any time anymore. We were 6 people on the stage, and we had time for everything. But all of them, and me included too, are ready to answer to your questions, to discuss with each of you that want to relate with each of us, and also individually, because all of us are here, and the audience are in the theater all the time today. So if you want to get deeper, to make your questions, we are present physically, and we can answer and discuss individually. And if anything that has been said made an inspiration for only one person of you, we made a job. Okay. Thank you.